Rev up your engines!
Well, here's an unforeseen consequence of this new infrastructure bill in the United States to allow adaptive headlights. They have them in Europe where you take a corner and the computer adapts your headlights so it doesn't blind people and so you can see better. It looks like the infrastructure bill is going to allow them, and within 24 months, they say you're going to see them in the United States. Let me tell you something. I'm a mechanic, right? I see the other end of this crap when it breaks. BMW headlights that follow you and stuff, they break. Even the Lexus headlights that follow you, they break. Headlights work pretty good the way they are, pointed in the right direction. You know, you start adding motors and computers. As your cars age, you're going to spend a fortune because it's got to work if your car gets inspected. You're in a state where they inspect cars for safety. If the adaptive headlights don't work, they won't pass. Then you'll have to spend a fortune. I had a guy with a Lexus the other day. It was going to be $2,400 to fix those things. How stupid. Now, as the law stands today in the United States, I told him, I said, just take that crap out and put LEDs in. Forget the moving ones. And if it's really a hassle, just take the whole systems out and buy aftermarket LEDs or aftermarket HIDs made in China that cost a lot less and have them put in your car rather than spend thousands of dollars on these stupid headlights that adjust themselves. All that stuff breaks. It's going to cost a fortune. Who needs it? And of course, the hilarious thing is, since these are government bureaucrats and lawyers, what do they say? Here's the law. No later than 2 years after the date of the enactment of this act, the Secretary shall issue a final rule amending Standard 108. And that's the standard for headlights, right? They amend it maybe 2 years from now. Yeah. Politicians, bureaucrats, the nonsense that they spout out. But if you're interested in reading the details, I say the devil's in the details, for $85, you can read the International Standard J3069, and which defines the whole thing. You'd have to be an engineer and a lawyer to understand what they're saying. But basically, it comes to 2 years from now, they want to amend it all so that you can start selling these adaptive headlight systems in the United States. And like I say, when those things break, and break they do. I mean, the old ones broke that were just mechanical. These are going to be computer controlled. Don't be surprised you get a $4,000 bill to fix your headlights. Let's go back in the 60s when a headlight bulb cost you $2. And the whole thing was there. The bulb, the glass. For $2, you'd put another one in. Yes, we live in strange times indeed. Gigi says, I have a Honda Civic. Occasionally, it's difficult to start. It's an 07. Every few weeks, I have to turn it back and forth several times to get it to turn over. I've had the battery, starter, alternator tested. Help. I can just about guarantee you what's wrong. Replace the ignition switch. The electrical portion on the bottom. You can go to any place, AutoZone, places like that, buy a new ignition switch. The electrical part. The mechanical part, usually okay, but it's the electrical part on the bottom that screws in, that the wires come out, that go bad. And it's just a typical problem, especially with the 07 Hondas. Some of them, they really should have recalled, but they never did. It's known by us mechanics that those ignition switches go bad, and it will do exactly that. The only other thing that I say, you said the starter was tested, but some guys don't know how to test them. When Honda starters go bad, they can also do that. So here's a good test for the starter, a real test. You say you turn it, it doesn't do anything. Turn it and hold it. Have somebody else hit the starter with a hammer and a big stick or something, and then if it starts to turn over, that means the starter motor's starting to go out. They can act the same way, and they're very hard to test. Like, oh, your starter's okay. Well, not really. They're not that easy to test. And if you hit it with the keys turned on, all of a sudden it starts, then you know the starter needs replacing. But it's more common for the ignition switches to go out on those things. Florida Plumber says, cobalt mining for batteries. I watch kids develop birth defects in mining communities in Africa. Cobalt mines are destroying the people. Lots of videos on it. Please mention this. Yeah, you know, there's always the downside of a lot of stuff. Mining is messy. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I mean, kind of as an aside, now they're talking about, well, there's lithium in the Salton Sea, you know, the old polluted sea in California when the river went over its banks or the dam broke or something. It filled up with water. It was a holiday for Dean Martin and all these guys who would play there. Now it's just this polluted disaster area with a few people living like nomads in the desert. But they find out there's lithium there, and they're talking about mining that for lithium too. You can imagine the mess that would make. Although the Salton Sea is such a mess anyway, maybe it would actually help clean it up by getting rid of some of the dust and stuff. I don't know. But lithium's a messy thing. Electric cars are not clean. It's a myth that they're trying to portray. Oh, this is a clean way. Don't worry about it. It's better for the environment. Blah, blah, blah. You know, it's an industrial process. It's all going to be messy. That's just the way that it goes. You're not going to be able to stop stuff like that. I'm kind of interested in the Porsche, of all people, that are trying to make that biofuel in South America where they suck the carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, make a clean fuel, and then when you burn it, carbon dioxide goes back into the environment, and then they suck it back in. Now, that's science fiction, but they're actually doing this stuff. They're starting to do it now. And if that could be done at a massive scale, that'd make the most sense. Forget Forget batteries. They're ridiculous. They're inefficient anyways. We could use biofuel and our cars would spew out carbon dioxide and machines would suck it back in and make it like the water cycle. To me, that makes the most sense. If it can be done. Still going to cost a lot of money in infrastructure to create the stuff, but at least the gas tanks are already there. Everything's there. All you got to do is make the fuel, take the carbon dioxide out, and then put it back in. Voltamy says, beeping is driving me crazy. I got a 2005 Ford Escape XLT. As I drive in a few minutes, beeps 5 times in a row. Scan Tools doesn't say the codes. Help. Well, what's happening is that is the warning for your airbag system. Replace the bulb. Your bulb is probably burnt out. I fixed them that way. When the bulb burns out, it does those beeps to warn you that the warning light is broken. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your airbag system in most cases. It just means that the warning light that tells you there's a problem is burnt out. I fixed a bunch of them that way. Now, if that doesn't fix it, then you'd have some other problem in the airbag system. And you're going to have to go to a guy like me with my fancy scan tool, and you're going to have to look it up and analyze the whole system. But I've seen that before, and it's because the stupid airbag warning light is burnt out. You need to replace that bulb, and then it'll stop beeping. But that's why it's beeping. That's the backup warning system. First, the light comes on, but if that burns out, then it starts beeping, warning you, beep, 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 beep. Well, basically, replace the bulb. It should fix the whole thing. Well, if you think it's bad about the price of used cars, check the price of used airplanes. The same thing is going on. Now, if you go into a little history, in the 1990s, planes were appreciating so fast that you could buy a used one and you could sell it years later for more money than you put in it in the first place. The same thing today is happening with planes, with used cars. The used planes, the prices are also skyrocketing. So I'm talking about the cheapest ones you can buy. Now, of course, we're talking about a much smaller demand too and supply, but it fits. For example, one company that makes them, Cub Crafters, they sold a whopping 62 of them last year, so it's a much smaller scale, but the same thing is up. There's a limited out for sale, and people are thinking about buying them, and some of these planes are $100,000 or less, especially if you're buying a used one. Yeah, they're really expensive to maintain. They're not like cars. They're an insane expense. All my friends that had planes, the cheaper planes, they usually ended up parking in their back 40, maybe the wings taken off of them, and they gave up using them. Cost too much money to keep up with the FAA requirements, rebuilding the engines and having the inspections and stuff done. An in-depth look at one company is this thing called the Vashon Ranger, and that's the low-end one. It's $120,000 brand new. Since 2018, this company has 66 of them in the field. So, they don't sell that many of them, but the same market forces are involved. There's less cars for sale, the price goes up. Maybe it's a good time to buy a used plane, even if you're not going to fly it. Sit on it for a while, maybe the price will go up and you can make some money. Because they're not going to be flying cars for quite some time, but there are airplanes out there in the lower end that you can buy. Most guys share them though. You get 5 or 6 guys together and you all share the costs of it, or you join these clubs where somebody owns a plane and everybody rents it a certain part of the year, things like that. Not that many people go out and buy planes because, one, they're expensive, and two, you don't use them all the time. It doesn't make any sense to put a ton of money into one and you're not using nothing much. Why not share it with other guys? Then you can all take advantage of it. Gary Martin says, I got a question about wheel bearing grease. Which type is preferred for prolonged high temperature, lithium complex or polyurea? Well, polyurea is an excellent for both low and high temperature, but it's made for roller bearings. You got to make sure what kind of bearings you're dealing with. It's not really made for needle bearings. It's made for roller bearings. You'd have to find out what kind of grease. But here's the thing. Most people aren't even going to care. And here's why. Almost every wheel bearing on every car made today is a sealed system. You can't add grease. The wheel bearings are part of the hub, and they have seals on the inside and outside. The grease that's in it is there for the life of the bearing. You can't re-grease them. Now, some guys that are crazy, they'll get little hypodermic syringe bearing greasers, and they'll poke it in and put the grease in. But I never advise doing that for one reason. You can only do that if you use the same exact grease that it came with, because many greases are totally incompatible. You have to use one type of grease. So let's say you had a wheel bearing that actually you could take it apart and grease it and put it back together, and you wanted to use the polyurea. You got to clean all the other stuff off, whistle clean, then put that on. You cannot mix the greases. Anytime you're greasing any kind of bearing, find out what the factory grease was and put that on, unless you're willing to take the whole thing apart. On the other hand, let's say you're building something and you're taking the old ones out and putting brand new ones in. Sure, great grease. You can use it. Now, the lithium complex is also a good grease. There's nothing wrong with that either. They're both excellent greases, but the polyurea ones are really made for all-round low and high temperature. It's a very good synthetic grease that people have made. But like I say, most people will never use it because they're sealed and you never need to grease them. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.